Welcome to the orientation session for English A111 at Kenai Peninsula College. My name is Dr. Calatrello, and I'll be your professor this semester. I'm looking forward to working with each of you in the weeks ahead and watching you develop as writers. My email is listed for you here, and of course this is my campus email. However, most of the communication that we will be doing this semester will actually be done online in our Blackboard course using the Blackboard message tool. And I will talk more about that and show it to you a little later in this presentation. I do not maintain an office on campus. In fact, I'm not in Alaska. However, I want to assure each one of you that I'm very, very good about checking my email several times a day and checking the messages on Blackboard. So I want you to just relax and know that you will be able to get a hold of me when you need to. Now, the first few interests that I've listed here are pretty straightforward interests. In other words, what you might expect from an English professor. I love to read, and I've done an awful lot of writing over the years. However, I like to do other things too in my time. I like to run, I like to swim, and I've always enjoyed music, listening to it, and of course playing it as well. I'm somewhat obsessed with vintage American instruments. I love vintage guitars, acoustic and electric, basses, mandolins, banjos, dobros, you name it. If it's got strings on it and it's a vintage American-built instrument, it's going to get my attention. In grad school, my specialization was American literature, but I'm also quite interested in narratology, which is really just a fancy way of saying the study of narratives. And what that means is I'm intrigued by the way authors, novelists, short story writers, how they construct their stories. In other words, how they craft them and the techniques that they use as they put together the stories that we enjoy reading so much, and the effects of those techniques on us as we read them. Let me just say a few words about the textbooks and the materials that you'll be needing for this course this semester. You'll want to check the syllabus for the current textbook that we're using this semester. This is where you'll find the most up-to-date information with regards to the text that we are using. Periodically, the textbook changes, and so I have found that the best thing to do is to update the syllabus rather than try to reconstruct this orientation. So check the syllabus, which is available to you in the left-hand frame of our course, and that will give you the information that you need for the current textbook. I also recommend an optional but very useful handbook that many of you may want to consider picking up used secondhand. It's a writer's reference by Diana Hacker. And let me just say, it's one of the finest handbooks that you can put your hands on. It is the #1 best-selling college textbook of all time. It really is that good. And so I would highly recommend that all students have a hard copy handbook that they can put on their desk and reach out and use when you need it. It will be very useful to you as a student over the years, and it will be of use to you when you go into the workplace as well. You'll want to always have a handbook that is in reach when these questions come up about our writing, and believe me, they will. Obviously, you're going to need to have an internet-capable computer, and you're going to need to have access to the internet 24 hours a day, preferably 7 days a week, and hopefully that the internet access where you are is relatively stable and strong. We're going to be uploading files, you're going to be streaming videos, etc. So you'll want to make sure that you have access to strong wireless service or wired service, however that works best for you. I recommend that students have a copy of Microsoft Word on their computer. You may not have to run out and purchase a copy of this. In fact, most of the word processing programs that we have access to have a functionality in them that allows users to save their file in a Microsoft Word format. What I'm going to be asking for when you submit your essays is that you are able to submit your essays saved as a Microsoft Word file. So these files are going to have a .doc or a .docx extension. An alternative to this as well would be to save the file in whatever word processing program that you're using. Save it as a PDF file for submission. That will work equally as well. You'll also want to have some ability to back up the work. We all use these little jump drives, flash drives, but make sure that you have backups of the work that you're doing this semester. There's nothing more horrifying than finding that the work that you have been working on disappears through some kind of accident or some kind of computer hardware or software failure. So definitely back up the work that you're doing this semester. Listen, I'm a firm believer in setting goals, not only in our academic lives, but in our personal lives as well. My goal and my role as your instructor is to assist you in improving your use of standard English, encourage you to think critically about your life, about the communities that you participate in, and the world that we inhabit. I also set out to explain, demonstrate, and guide you through steps of academic essay writing, the writing process that typically consists of pre-writing, composing, revising, and we'll do this in a variety of rhetorical modes. Also, my goal is to explain, demonstrate, and guide you through the steps of research. This is a critical skill as you progress in your academic career. My job also is to guide you through the steps of the documented paper. And again, the documented paper is the end result of the research process, and we'll be doing a developed, pretty substantial research paper at the end of the semester. Now, if you can get through this first research paper, you're going to be good, and you're going to be writing a lot of research papers. Finally, I want to encourage you to develop toward being a professional and achieving your dreams. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have some kind of vision of what you want your future life to be like. And I want to encourage you to reach those goals and to do everything necessary to be successful in doing so. Let me speak briefly about our course outcomes. Successful students will make effective use of standard edited English. They will reflect on their lives and the position they maintain in their communities and the world. They'll practice pre-writing, composing, and revising, maybe some blog entries, some discussion board postings, and essays using a variety of rhetorical modes. Successful students will conduct and incorporate primary and secondary research. They'll pre-write, compose, and revise a documented research paper of substantial length and detail. They will conduct themselves professionally in our interactions. And the major goal and outcome of this course is for you to feel more confident as a writer. To me, that's the most important outcome of this class, is for you to move forward feeling a little more confident about writing situations when they come up, whether it be in a future course, whether it be on the job, whether it be in your personal life. So how does a course like this work? Let me take a few moments and give you a very brief overview of what you can expect. Students in English A111 will be required to complete a series of learning units. Now, what's a learning unit? Well, a learning unit, or a module, may consist of the following activities: reading assignments from the text, viewing PowerPoint presentations, responding to discussion board postings. We may even create a blog, online quizzes, and of course, writing and revising essays. Now, the way the course is structured is that at the very beginning of the semester, I have established deadlines for each of these learning units. And the deadlines for these learning units will be published in the syllabus and also in the calendar in our Blackboard course. As a student, you are responsible for completing all the work contained in each of the learning units by the deadline. The pace at which you work through each of the activities in the learning units is entirely up to you. I've been doing this an awful long time, and I've found that this approach allows for the maximum amount of flexibility and encourages students to structure and organize, manage their time in such a way that they can get everything that they need to have done in ample time. Well, maybe attendance isn't the right word, since you aren't actually attending a physical space, a traditional classroom. Maybe I should have titled this slide Attendance/Access. Either way, whether you're sitting in a traditional classroom or you're pursuing your education online, participation is generally a required part of any class that you might take. Now, this semester, you'll be involved in class by responding to discussion board postings throughout the course. I want you to see the grading section in our syllabus for specific weights associated with those parts of the course. I require and expect students to access the course at least once a week. Students who do not access the course or are absent from the class for 2 weeks in succession, any span of 14 days in a row, are subject to being dropped from the class. I would encourage you to bookmark our course and to make it a habit of checking it every morning. Pour yourself a cup of coffee or whatever it is you drink in the morning. Pull up the course, check your messages, see what's going on. All the data shows that students who participate in classes, such as this, online classes, and who do so regularly, stand a better chance of being successful in that class. So I want to encourage you again, make this class part of your daily routine, and you'll get the most out of it if you do it that way. I'd like to leave you with a few parting thoughts. The first is, it's going to be a busy semester, I promise you. I want you to be prepared, to be challenged, and be prepared to work hard in the weeks ahead. It's not going to be easy, but you can do it. I want you to know that I'm in your corner. I want each of you to succeed. I'll see you online. Okay, well, it looks as though you've made it successfully into the course. You've gone to your Blackboard sign-in page and logged in and found our English A111 course. When you log in, this is the way our course should look. It may look different depending on what semester you're taking the course. But overall, it should look like this. I may grow tired of the color green and change my preferences to a different color, but this is the basic way the course will look the first time that you log in. There'll be a greeting from me, and then as I scroll down, you can see a number of links or doorways into course material. Each of these is what we call a learning unit, and I'll talk more about those in just a few moments. I'll dive into one and show you what you can expect. Don't get overwhelmed. I know it looks like an awful lot, but some of these aren't quite as lengthy as you might think. But this is the way the course looks. I first want to draw your attention over here to the left side of my frame, and you can see there's a course menu. Vertically oriented here, and these are basically self-explanatory links. I'm not going to click on them all during this orientation, but I encourage you during the first day and certainly throughout the semester to click on these links and to see what material you can find in the course. You're not going to break anything, so I want to encourage you to click on things, okay? Instructor information, our course syllabus, this is very important. So make sure that you've read the syllabus and printed it out even, and that you're familiar with what's contained in it, particularly the guidelines and the procedures and policies and so forth. Okay, it's probably the most important thing that you can read in any college course is your class syllabus. Okay. The grading rubric is listed for you here. This will give you a basic idea of how I evaluate your written work this semester. And the grading rubric applies particularly to the essays that we will be writing this semester. Course materials will give you a link to the textbook information so that you can have your text if you don't already have it, okay? But I would certainly recommend that you get on it and quickly. You don't want to be in a class without a book. Our course calendar is listed here, along with our due dates. The due dates will give you the absolute deadline date for completing each of the learning units. Okay. We will have a midterm exam in the class, and when that exam becomes available, you can click on the exam link here and find more information about how to prepare for it and how to take it, okay? This is important. This is our main communication tool that we'll be using this semester. This is an internal mail program or internal messaging program, really. So it's not really conventional email in the sense that it's not going across any servers or across the internet. It's a self-contained messaging tool. And this is what I really want us to use the most this semester. Because this way, again, it helps me stay more organized with the student email that I receive throughout any semester. In other words, I know who you are and I know what class that you're in. And that's not always the case. When I have just 150 students in 5 or 6 different classes emailing me from their personal accounts, we aren't always as good as we'd like to be or we need to be of identifying who we are and what class we're in and so forth. But if you click on this, and I encourage you to do this on a daily basis, when you click on the message utility, it'll look like this. You'll have an inbox, and if I have sent you a message, it will show up here under the unread. But it's very intuitive. You just click Create Message, click on your recipient, choose your instructor, come down, type in a subject in the subject box, type your message, and at the bottom, click Submit. Okay, so that was one thing I wanted to show you during this orientation session. Very important to make sure that you're checking your messages on a regular basis. This is where I will go to look for messages from you at least once, more often 3 or 4 times a day, as experience has shown. The discussion board is here for you as well. There are links to the particular discussion board threads that I'm going to ask you to complete this semester within the learning units themselves. But you can also get to the discussion board by clicking on the discussion board link. Okay, but oftentimes the prompt or what I'm asking you to respond to is found within the learning unit itself. Again, very, very familiar if you've done any time on any of the multiple forums that are on the internet. It's basically set up the same way. You've got a threaded discussion. You're able to see unread messages, any new messages, and so forth. One limitation of Blackboard, there are many, but one of the most aggravating one for me as an instructor and probably for you as a student is going to be that there's no way to know simply by logging into Blackboard whether or not you have any new discussion board postings. You've really got to drill down, get into the class, and see it. Again, it's sometimes aggravating, but that's why you just want to make it part of your daily habit. As you go through the days, you wake up in the morning, check your classes, see what's going on. You don't want to miss anything. And the discussion board is often a place where questions are asked, and I answer them, and you can benefit from monitoring those discussions and by participating in them as well. The My Grades, this is where you will have an online, essentially, grade book, and you can track your progress throughout the semester. As soon as I've graded something, I enter it, and it pushes the grade back into your grade book so that you can keep track of things. FAQs, frequently asked questions. This is just a simple link to some of the frequently asked questions that I get and my responses to them. So if you have a question, check on the FAQ board, see if it's been asked before and how it was answered. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer and think it probably needs to be on the frequently asked question board, send me a message in Blackboard and I'd be glad to add to it. Okay, my hope is that this FAQ list will continue to grow and I'll be able to answer those questions that students have the most frequently. There are some video tutorials that I have done. I've edited them down significantly, and so there really aren't that many showing right now. But if there is something that you'd like to see, again, something that you think that you could benefit from by me doing a quick little video demonstration of, certainly send me a message. I love doing these these little video shots. So please do. If there's a punctuation issue or a grammar issue or something that you think that you could benefit more by seeing visually and hearing me talk through it, by all means, send me a message and maybe we can make that happen together. There are some practice quizzes here as well. These are practice quizzes that are basically punctuation and grammar, mechanics kind of questions and quizzes. They are graded immediately for you, so you get the feedback. I don't see them at all. In other words, I don't see that you've taken them. I don't see what you scored on them. They are practice quizzes. They do not count toward your overall course grade. They're just some quizzes that I have found and that I have put out here for you to brush up some of those cobweb spots with regards to things like commas and punctuation and grammar things, subjects and verbs and so forth. Certainly there's a help link here and a link to evaluate the course as well. Let me back up. When you log in again, learning units, let me click here, and when I do, it'll bring us back to the main page. In other words, when we log into our course, the learning units link is the startup page. So this will take a second. Let me just show you basically what a learning unit might look like. Let me get up to one that contains an essay. The first essay that we're going to do is a narrative essay. So let me click on the narration link, and when I do, you'll see that it generally begins with a reading assignment directly out of your text. But what I want to draw your attention to is not so much the content here, but how to navigate a learning unit. There are a number of ways that you can do it, and I just want to let you know some of them. You can see in the upper right-hand corner here, page 1 of 7. This is letting you know that there are 7 items in this learning unit that you need to navigate through. 7 items that you need to complete by the deadline. And again, the deadlines can be found not only on the syllabus, not only on the calendar, but also on the due dates document that's listed for you, again, over in the left side frame of our course. Okay. Most of the main learning units, those that contain essays, will have a video lecture, and again, this is what one looks like here. Probably take a second to load. I'm on a very slow connection right now. There it is. So you'll certainly want to start the learning unit by watching and listening to the video tutorial or the video lecture, if you want to call it that I've given you here. There'll be a student sample of the essay. There'll be, in some instances, something that I've written that demonstrates the assignment that I'm asking you to do. I'm a firm believer that any instructor should be able to do those things that he asks of his students. And so sometimes when the Spirit moves me, I'll write a narrative or I'll write a causal analysis or an argumentative paper. Here's a link to a narration discussion. This is what I just mentioned to you. If you click on this, it's going to prompt you. It's actually going to push you into the discussion board section of our course. It's going to give you something to consider with regards to your reading out of the book and ask you to formulate a response on the discussion board and post that. I encourage you to do that early on in in the learning unit so that we can get some discussion going on the discussion board, so we can ask questions, so we can see how one another is thinking about the assignment that's ahead. There'll be a quiz usually as well. Usually these are 5, maybe 10 questions, 1 point each. They're multiple choice, true, false. They're based on the assigned reading out of your textbook. Again, a very good reason to have your textbook handy and to have your reading done. Don't attempt any of the quizzes in these learning units until you've done your reading. Okay. Finally, the narrative essay link. When you click here, and as I will do here, this is where you'll find your assignment sheet for the learning unit. Now you can see here, here are your instructions. You've got a due date, your points possible. Now one thing I want to make perfectly clear for you here is that when it comes time for you to submit the assignment, please remember what I want you to do is to attach your file here. So by browsing out to your computer and locating your essay, obviously you've written it on computer, you've saved it as a Microsoft Word file. It resides somewhere on your computer, right? So you browse out, you attach your file here, and click down here to submit. And then it will be submitted to me into my grade book and let me know that I have something to grade. Sometimes students get confused and they will type or they'll paste their essay in this submission box. Don't do that. Okay, I can't work with copied and pasted text. I need to have a file. I need to have a Microsoft Word file, one that I can save onto my computer, one that I can interact with more closely, more directly than copied and pasted text. Okay, so just absolutely ignore number 2 here, this submission box, and go straight down to attach your file, browse out, grab your file, select it, and then hit submit. Okay. All right, so that's what an assignment sheet looks like, previewed for you here, and a little advice about how to submit your essays when the time comes. But this is basically the way a learning unit looks. So, again, you can navigate through a learning unit by paging through, as I've done here. Cancel that. Or, if I draw your attention here, this table of contents, you can simply click on the links and navigate your learning unit this way too. It just depends on how you want to process the learning unit. The key thing is that you've looked at every item in there. You've completed those items that require attention, whether it's a quiz, whether it's a discussion board posting, a reading assignment, and certainly an essay. Okay. If you have any questions at all about any information in the learning units and really anything in the course, I always encourage you to use the discussion board. Okay, let me click on this again. Up here in the top, I have at the very top listed a general course questions. And this is where I want you to post questions that you have that are specific to the course, but they may be procedural questions. They may be questions about about deadlines, or about maybe I've done something incorrectly, or maybe you found a typo, and please, if you do, I know they're in there, please let me know, and I would deeply appreciate that. But the general course question is a place where you can go and post your question. I can see it when I log in, I can answer it there, and then we have some dialogue going, and we've got a conversation, and that way when other students log in, they can see what question was asked. Chances are they probably had it too and just didn't ask it. But that way everybody benefits. And that way also I'm not answering the same question over and over again with the messages. So try to think globally, in other words, in a large sense about overall questions that you have about the class, and direct those there. If you have questions that are about a particular assignment, try to attach those to the appropriate discussion board area here. In other words, if you have a question about the causal analysis essay, post it there, because it's more logical there, right? It fits better there than it would under a general course question. All right. Well, I think I have covered everything that I can think of. Again, I've tried to structure the class in a way that's it allows for the maximum amount of flexibility. In other words, the manner and the pace with which you work through these learning units this semester is entirely up to you. Okay, you are pacing yourself. And the way you determine the pace is by assessing the other things you have going on in your life, right? Your other classes, your work responsibilities, your family responsibilities, your social calendar. And this allows you, in other words, our approach allows you to know, look, I've got this amount of work to do. He's given me this deadline to get it done by. So now I need to adjust my other responsibilities and the other things that I have to get done to make room for this. Again, I've been doing this online distance education for about 12 or 13 years now. And again, I've tried a variety of methods. I've tried to be more prescriptive, and that generally doesn't work. And the reason why is that we live in a very fluid culture, don't we? And we're all going in a million different directions. And for me to prescribe an exact date and time for you to do something, or to be somewhere, or to come online, it doesn't work because, some guys are working a week off-site somewhere. Some people work second shift. Some people work graveyard shift. And I've just found that this is the most logical and, again, the most flexible way for an e-learner to succeed in a course such as this. So that's the advantage. The disadvantage is that it's up to you. It's up to you to be self-disciplined. It's up to you to be self-directing and self-motivated. I'm not going to be harping you on a day-to-day basis to do your reading, to get a draft of your essay going. These are things that have to initiate from you. And that's the way it really should be. At least that's my philosophy on education, right? I mean, you kind of have to own your own education, and you have to go out and you have to make it happen. At least that's been my experience. Again, I've probably forgotten some things that I probably might have wanted to show you, but I can only do so much here. Again, you're going to have questions. I'm going to remember things as soon as I sign off here that I probably should have told you that I didn't. Again, that's what our discussion board's for. But again, I want to welcome you to the class. I want to reiterate the fact that I'm here for you, and that I'm deeply, deeply committed for each of you and to each of you and your success in this class. I want you to know that I'm in your corner, and I'm just really looking forward to it. So let's have a great semester. Let's get our books. Let's read the syllabus. Let's dive into the material, and let's get this thing going, all right? Okay. Well, I'll see you online.